Yes, hello everybody, and welcome back to another developer live stream for Beyond the Wire. For anyone new here, Beyond the Wire is a World War I first-person shooter that's currently in early access on Steam. And we're here today to look at the brand new update that is coming this month of December. So I'm joined once again by Bruno, Creative Director, and Josh, Technical Level Designer. Hey lads.
Hello. Hey everyone.
Great to have you back. So very excited. It's obviously been a hot minute since we were back. The team took a much needed vacation after what could be called a Herculean effort after overcoming some obstacles during development in order to get us to early access. So needless to say, we're back and we've been working hard now for a few weeks, ready to deliver this update for you all. So very excited to bring to you today Cantigny, which is a new map, like I said, coming in this December update, along with a lot of other things which we'll be discussing a little bit later on. But let's get straight into it, Bruno. Let's talk a little bit about the Battle of Cantigny, and more specifically the time frame that we're looking at in Beyond the Wire.
Right. Yeah. So for Cantigny, it's actually, like, let's go into a little bit of the history behind it. So it's this is the first battle where the United States Army are being employed in field. So they're operating under the French command, and this map basically tells the story of when they captured the town of Cantigny. This was on May 28th, 1918. And they held this down against numerous counterattacks from the German forces. And what's really interesting about it is that, of course, this was the first major American battle of World War One. So it's the first time that the Americans are out there in the field, and of course, they're operating still under this French command, but it really helped showing the French command that the American divisions were dependable in the field and in the line against the German offensive, and as the Germans were coming to try and take Paris, the French needed the help, and the help came, and that victory was followed by many other attacks during that period. So really important battle, really interesting scenario there. Really, basically a really cool thing that we wanted to portray on Beyond the Wire. And I think that this map, you're really gonna see that, taking over the village area. This village is destroyed a little bit, and there's still some buildings standing, but it's gonna be really interesting combat areas that are gonna be forming there as the Americans are pushing into the town, and the Germans, of course, trying to push them out of the town. But yeah, that's the overview of the Battle of Cantigny.
Wonderful, thanks, mate. There's also a lot of options with this battle, I think, of certain time frames. So we mentioned there the later battle and the later years with this specific battle being part of the Spring Offensive of 1918. So Josh, when we're looking at this specific time and area, what were the objectives that were given to the level designers when tasked with making the map?
Yeah, so I guess the first and foremost objective was to represent the last battle of Cantigny, and something that, because there was two main battles that were on Cantigny, so representing the last battle was definitely the goal, and also something that would work for the earlier battle as well. Another goal we had, or objective, was to use the feedback we got from the community from the previous three levels we had released, and really take into account all the things all the things we had learned from the community and implement those in the level. We also wanted to create something that was quite a bit different than the other levels we have to, of course, add a lot of variety. And I would say one thing we learned is to allow a lot more room for melee combat. So we tried to add a lot more dynamic environments with a kind of half height and places where players could hide and have more close quarter combat. But also allow some good areas for machine gun use and RD teams to set up and have a clear field of view. And then, of course, another thing we're always thinking about is making sure that the overall design of the level allows for good performance. So a lot of not too long a line of sights to you won't be able to see the whole level and bad performance areas or anything like that. I would say enough points of interest and capture points to allow for our current game modes. So one thing, because the Frontlines game modes requires a lot of capture points. Anyone that's played it, there's a whole bunch of little capture points everywhere. I'd say a couple of the other levels are lacking and need some more dynamic environments in that sense. So we really try to capture that and create a lot of dynamic environments.
Excellent, thanks, mate. So we're just looking through some of the screenshots that we shared with the blog yesterday. We're actually in quite a fortunate position tonight that we're going to be loading into a pre-release build and joining some of the devs and testers live in the map. So we'll just let these screenshots run through. But Bruno, as we load up the game now, what are some of the main, or should I say, some of the first areas that the players are going to be seeing as they load into the map?
So there are two sides of this. So when you're starting as and you're playing as an American with the American Expeditionary Forces, you start in this this camp, military camp that was built close to the city. So we of course took some creative liberty there and put the camps a lot closer than they were in real life, but they're still represented in game, and that's really nice. There's lots of detail in there. The tents that they use, the types of equipment. You can even look inside the tents, and there's backpacks and gear in general, just as if they're people actually living there. That was the idea, to make this spawn points to feel like they're just getting ready for battle, and they're now leaving and going into the town. On the other side, on the German side, the first impression is, the Germans are setting up some defenses, but it's not like they didn't dig into heavily, so it's more like eggs, and a few trenches are here and there, but it's not the main element in this game, in this map. So that's as you progress. During that match, the goal is that the Americans are going to try to get closer and closer and eventually get into the village, and that's where even from a distance you can already see this gigantic cathedral, and that's actually based on the real world cathedral that exists on Cantigny, but also we did lots of research, and there's lots of very interesting stories from World War I veterans that were recorded back in the 60s and 70s, and they're talking about this very unique there's this underground portion that's built under the cathedral, and they're basically catacombs, and there was actual combat that happened in there, which is, in my opinion, crazy, right? And they're telling the stories about how they're trying to clear out these tunnels, and then they can hear the Germans speaking nearby, but they never know where it's coming from, because the catacombs are so confusing and kind of like a maze. So we try to portray a little bit of that. So there's going to be tunnels under the map, and it's really interesting how those tunnels connect some areas of the map. So if you learn how to navigate this level, and you really pay attention to where you're going, you're going to be able to basically cut through some areas and get behind the enemy line sometimes, and get right into inside, almost inside an objective, by using these tunnels. And then from that side, moving to the other side, because if you imagine the map as a like just a straight line. You have the American spawn point on one side with the camps, and then the city kind of like in the center, and then there's fields connecting connecting the camps to the city, and then more fields on the other side, and that's those fields we really like. We put a lot of effort into making those fields very interesting. So there's a lot of points of interest there. There's a lot of fortifications that were built, a lot of like really interesting combat spaces that the players are going to be able to fight on. And I see you're loading in there the oh, there it is. You're loading the game in there. So we're going to be able to take a look at those now and just fly over and see actual players. We have actual players live running right now in the map, and they're like there's a playtest going on, so we're going to be able to see a little bit of that combat that's going to happen on those fields and in that town.
Yeah, I'm actually just going to switch to controller. Actually, it's a bit more of a smoother view.
Oh, for the camera, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So we've currently got Americans capturing E in this initial area. So we'll bring the map up here. So as Bruno was describing here, the back lines for both the German and the US, advancing through the map, we've got various massive crater holes filled with water, barbed wire, and also wooden defendable structures as well. So if we zip over above now, let me just get a bit more of an overhead view of this battle area. Don't know if you want to talk us through, Josh, this front line area that they're fighting over at the minute.
So there's a few main points of interest. So the two major ones I'd say, or the ones along the roads, are a lot of supply depots and walled off houses that are being used by the army. And then the other one is like kind of more off the roads. You'll have a lot more rustic, maybe camps or little strong points set up. And then, as you can see from the screen, there's a lot of destroyed versions of those same things the closer you get to no man's land. And the further you get back, the more intact it is. So this scene right there in particular is just one of those farmlands that's kind of been targeted by bombardment, and it's just kind of become like a bit of a lake, honestly.
Yeah.
A bit of a little lake. Yep.
So we also have...
that's also another interesting thing that's happening on this map. So previous to the Battle of Cantigny, there was a lot of rain, and we wanted to represent that by these puddles that formed. Of course, like eventually this would get sucked into the terrain, but on Beyond the Wire, we really wanted to have that water in there because it helps create those paths for players. They can choose between going, through a quicker path that might be a little bit more exposed, or trying to go across the water. You see there's a guy there, like he just got grenaded.
I just want to say, right now you can see a prime example of that close quarters. Like they're right in front of each other right now. It's pretty exciting. Mm-hmm. Like just over that little line, right? And the level is full of those little areas where you'll be right in front of the enemy. But I've had quite a few situations already on the playtests of this exact same thing, yeah.
Yeah, and I think there's a little bit of a delay here between what we're seeing and what Danny is seeing.
I'm just currently rotating around that wooden area that Maurice got that kill.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So that's one of those examples of like a really interesting area to fight over. This is a smaller area as they're gonna progress across this map. They're gonna find themselves as more defendable areas even. So this is like a little corridor that connects to different zones there. But there's lots of like this very unique points of interest on this map, and that's what makes it so cool to play on.
Just let me know.
Right now I'm not on the playtest.
If people in the stream, just let me know how the quality is. I've upped my bitrate tonight, so hopefully the quality's there, and so is the frame. So just let me know.
Oh yeah, it's looking great. I'm actually watching it on Twitch right now, and it's looking very good.
Okay, so if we take just wander away from the battle a little bit here and head more centrally towards that cathedral that we were talking about, which is obviously one of the main focal point of the map, really. So this has been
like, the most unique thing about this map is this cathedral and the underground area there.
Yeah, so this has been primed by the German forces with hills, really. It's the only way you can describe the amount of barbed wire around this cathedral. So entrance to the cathedral is really quite tough. So what was the thinking with this, Josh, about sort of tying this area off, basically? Please ignore that floating barbed wire.
So yeah, basically from a lot of the stories, like the catacombs underneath this cathedral was used, but like the main cathedral was really just like destroyed and not very usable, honestly. Like a lot of the big landmarks would have been targeted, and so this was also like that. And we added, there's a lot of barbed wire around there just to kind of like natural deterrent, I guess you could say, because we don't. There's a lot of like little collision areas and stuff like that. Yeah.
Natural man-made deterrent.
Yeah. little natural deterrent, and like kind of like a little strong point there, and provide some good cover in the middle of no man's land as well.
So, is it safe to say that players can actually cut this barbed wire away?
They can cut it away, but they're not going to be able to get inside this area of the cathedral. As you can see, like nothing here is detailed because it's not a play area.
Yeah.
We didn't want it to be that obvious with the cathedral, and the idea is that players are not actually going to go inside that upper level of the cathedral, but instead they're going to go underneath it.
Right, just to make that point that this barbed wire though can be removed if you want to apply the effort to get rid of it.
Yeah. However, but there's no entrance to the cathedral, so that's it's all completely blocked off with both stone walls or wooden barriers or other elements that are going to be blocking the player passage there.
Right, so what about this surrounding area now? We've got the small hamlet around with obviously skeletal remains of buildings. So what was the idea with this area? Obviously, this is you're priming, well, you're getting ready to stage forward, really. So just talk us through it.
Yeah, so this is just like the main town of Cantigny. So as you can see, like there wasn't a lot of battles that happened here, so some of it is still in place, but there's been a lot of, like, I would say, targeted bombardment. And that's what you're seeing here. So it should provide a nice areas for combat. Like there's a few buildings, 2 stories that will be good for close quarters combat. A lot of the stone walls are still in place, like you can see on the left side. But yeah, definitely some targeted bombardment in certain places that maybe the other army thought was a prime target or whatnot.
Right, and this whole area surrounding the cathedral is filled with these buildings, but obviously we do need to traverse these outer areas of the craters as well and the barbed wire. So there are areas for players to move freely without having too many obstructions. However, really, your direct routes to front lines and things like that, most of the fighting is going to be over this area here in front of us.
Yeah.
Sorry, mate. Go on.
Yeah. No, there's definitely lots of obstacles on the way, but a lot of this, a lot of the barbed wire can be cut with tools that we give to the player. So you can try to like destroy it by using a grenade or something like that, or even an artillery fire or like a field cannon. But you can actually go in there and like use your barbed wire cutters to like open a way. And take your team with you, like just opening a path into the city. And then there's lots of there's like as you can see, like there's a lot of buildings that are like still half standing or like even like fully in there, and lots of walls and really like basically a lot of cover to that approach to this cathedral area. And eventually, like I see you're like getting close to the tunnels there now.
Catacombs.
Yeah, so this is my.
We're gonna take a little walk through it.
This is like my favorite part of this map. There's nothing like it on any of the other levels that we have on Beyond the Wire currently, and we really wanted to make it shiny and really make it very beautiful and very interesting to fight in there. So you see how the atmosphere changes quite a bit when you start moving into this area.
Yeah, we should also make a point that the lighting does change in here as well with the various different layers we have as well. So while this is quite a gloomy and misty feel, we do have ones with the lanterns on, which gives a bit more of a homely, comfy feel to it. So it's quite funny how the atmosphere under here does change layer to layer.
Yeah, because the outside light actually affects the inside of this catacombs, because there's like some openings, as you can see there on the right side. There's little broken pieces and walls that are completely like exposed to the outside, so sunlight comes in and they illuminate this catacombs in a very like cinematic way. It's very beautiful, actually. And of course, I see that the lanterns there are missing on this build, but that's actually not intentional.
Right.
It might be a little bug there. We're just missing a light.
Okay.
Yeah, but we're gonna fix that for release for sure.
Yeah. Okay. And that floating barbed wire, that is not a feature.
That too. Yeah. That's why we do display tests, right? Like to find. Sometimes choke points on the map, but also to find bugs like this, because no one wants to be there and experience all these visual glitches. Or there's a lot of thought when designing these maps and when creating these maps, and we want to represent them the best way possible.
Perfect. We will be taking some questions from the chat as well. So I'm just drifting over east a little bit here towards the I believe these are the German lines. Which are more, again, Josh, of what you were talking about, these smaller farmlands which have sort of stable areas and are a bit more untouched.
Yeah, it's very beautiful, actually. If you go down a little bit there and look to the left, there's this little lake even, and they built like this bridge across it.
Yeah, got it. Lovely. So if you want to take the scenic route, take a look for this bridge. So obviously, if a team's starting to get pushed back towards these points, Josh, it's almost desperate times. So, are there any particular features in this area where, if a team's being pushed back, they have a bit more of an advantage being on that that defensive position?
Definitely, as you can see in the video right now, there's a lot of like barbed wire defensive positions, so they can't cut through the tree lines too easily. They have to cut their way through. And there's also some areas that have the height advantage. So if you go along the edge of the farmland, I know there's a bit of delay on the stream, but the edge of the farmlands, there's some higher points of interest that are kind of sandbagged off. And
yeah, I've got them now, mate.
Yeah, they're kind of hard to find, but yeah, they'll have some higher height advantage. You'll be able to see what's coming up, possibly set up some machine guns or artillery in some of those spots.
Right, this is
not too much arty being used right now. It doesn't appear in this level, but I think that's not enough people.
Yeah, and so this is obviously presenting, again, another challenge, which is just pure open ground, really, which is, not really too common. In a lot of our open spaces, we do give opportunities for players to get into some sort of hard cover or concealment. So these little expanses here are presenting another challenge again for players.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Like they do provide some good firing positions, but also like there's lots of challenges to advance into that location there. As you can see, there's barbed wire covering a lot of it. There's a good mix of soft and hard cover as well. So players are going to have to figure out their paths there, and defenders are going to have to, I guess, figure those paths out quicker.
Right. I'm just admiring this lighting on this level. It's one of the things coming with this update is an overhaul of some of the lighting systems. So Bruno, would you like to talk about this, mate?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, that's actually a very good thing to bring up. As you can see, this lighting is a lot more realistic now, and that's because we are using I don't want to get too technical, but basically we are taking values that are measured of like sunlight and skylights from reality, so from real world, and we're translating that into the lighting system on Beyond the Wire. So basically, the result is that you get much more realistic lighting, and that's going to be coming with this update. It's going to be applied to every level currently on Beyond the Wire, and the changes are going to be massive in terms of visual fidelity there. It doesn't shine as much on this particular layer or this particular level because it's a little bit there's lots of fog, but you still see like how the sunlight affects the objects, the trees, the player characters, the props in the scenario a lot more realistically than it did previously. So that's I'm really looking forward to playing this and the other maps with this under this new lighting conditions.
Yeah, it is a lot more realistic for sure, which has been really nice. Yeah.
We will have some before and after photos, I think, with the update article when it drops. So that'll be interesting. One of the other, shall we say, big content drops will be the training range that we've built as well. So Bruno, can you talk us through that? We can't reveal too much today, but I think we've got an issue with crashes, so we'll just talk through it. So, what is the point of the training range, mate? And because we've seen a lot of questions in the community about why we're doing a training range, so that'd be a good one to answer.
For sure, yeah. So, because of the way that Beyond the Wire is experienced, like you jump on a server, you join a team, you join your squad mates, or you create your own squad, and basically you get assigned a kit, right? And that kit comes with a weapon, and it comes with like all your equipment. But what happens many times is that you don't always get the opportunity to try out and really experiment and practice with all the weapons, right, that we have available in game. And for that reason, and of course to also get the players more familiar with those weapons, we introduced this shooting range, which basically is what the name says. It's an area that the players can go in there and they can pick up any weapon, any kit in the game. So you can try out the shotguns, you can try out all the different types of rifles that we have, all the pistols, the light machine guns, and you can even play around with the field guns and the in-placed machine guns. All of that, it's all available for the players to experiment, to play with, and to get familiar with, because that's it's very important to know how those weapons work, because of this level of realism that we're going for here. There's some particular particular behaviors of each one of those weapons, and within that training range, you're going to be able to learn how the bullet drop works, and how far you need to if you're aiming at a very distant target, how far up do you have to aim, that kind of stuff, because we do have realistic ballistics in game, right? And you can also experiment with what is the expected behavior for each one of those projectiles. So like I'm saying, the ballistics of it, but also what kind of damage is this dealing, and what kind of explosion is this particular field gun causing, and that's all that's all available on the shooting range. On the other side of it, there's also we didn't want it to make it feel too much like a video game, so it's really it's not like a blank scenario or anything. It's a very immersive area. It's based on real world camps that they were set up, and they had these areas where the soldiers were actually practicing with their equipment. So it's very immersive, very very cool, very interesting. It's basically another little piece of a level that players are able to go around and experiment all the weapons.
Perfect. And even things like grenades, underhand throws.
Oh, yeah.
What kind of distance are we getting on those? So it's really going to be a handy bit of kit, even for just people who wanting to test weapon to weapon and things like that. And obviously we will be expanding on those sorts of features in the future as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think we'll leave it there on the map itself. Thank you for that too, gentlemen. That was very informative and a lot of fun seeing it in game. Thank you. So this is actually the first stream we're doing since we released the roadmap. So I presume that there may be some questions in the chat about that. I'll probably just bring it up actually. That's not worked. Give me a second. So, Bruno, we've confirmed with obviously December update. We spoke about Cantigny. We spoke about the training range. We spoke about the lighting update, along with obviously a lot of optimization in all aspects. We've not mentioned anything on the roadmap regarding weaponry. Now, we've got a lot of placeholder items in the game, such as the MG08 for all forces and the field cannons. Can you give us a little bit of an idea of where those weapons are going to be coming? Because that was something that the community was asking.
Yeah, so we do have new weapons coming, of course, with that big update for King and Country is called. So it's going to be mainly like the main pillar for it is going to be featuring the British Expeditionary Forces. So you can expect all those iconic weapons that the British used during World War I. And we're definitely going to be expanding our arsenal quite a bit there with that update. And I'm personally really looking forward to using those rifles. So it's going to be really really massive for Beyond the Wire. It's really like a landmark for us. We know the importance of the British Army during the First World War, and we really wanted to make it right, like to not just like try to rush it or anything. That's why we also decided not to include it on the first release, and we wanted to have it really nicely done and really polished when that faction was like ready for release. So with that, we're also like bringing in a few maps that where the British Expeditionary Forces are really going to shine, and those new weapons are really going to be just like amazing to use. That's all I can say about it right now. But there's a lot coming on that update.
Excellent. So there's also, well, obviously we've got Christmas coming up, so in the new year we'll probably be taking a look at some of those weapons. I know that we teased the Hotchkiss, or confirmed the Hotchkiss a couple of weeks ago. So,
oh, did we? Nice.
Yeah. It was interesting to see the guesses. A lot of people got it right, so that was good. So join us on social media if you're not, guys. We do a lot of stuff on there, like teasing up and coming content and posting everything that we're doing. So get following us. We've got a quick question here that maybe worth just interjecting with. Will there be any new weapons and equipment for already existing factions in any of those future updates? I presume, Fire Hazard, that you're talking about the updates where we've revealed in the roadmap.
I can reply to that one. There's definitely a lot of placeholders in game right now, and those are likely to be the first ones to be updated when it comes to existing arsenal. So just for example, the MG08 is the current in-place machine gun that we have, and just because like it was the first one to get fully animated, fully fleshed out, and like the sound effects are all in there, and we decided to for now put that give that to all the factions, because they're all eventually going to have their own machine guns. But just because this one was the most fleshed out, we decided to give that to everyone. But with this updates that are going to be coming during the next year, we're definitely going to be updating that and giving proper equipment to instead of those placeholders. And that also applies to the field cannons, for instance. We're currently using the Feldkanone, which is the German field cannon for all the factions currently in game. But eventually, those are going to be moving out and giving space to their own field cannons that were used by those factions during the war.
Is it safe to say that there will also be small arms that will be getting added for these factions that we've got in game now as well?
Yeah, there are some. There's definitely movement on that side as well. I don't want to give too much detail on that because I feel like there's spoilers. Spoilers alert. Yeah. But there's definitely movement on that side as well.
Okay. Cool. Just wanted to clarify that just in case.
Mm-hmm.
So the other one that's going back to the roadmap, the other thing that we've confirmed now is that we're going to be having sub-factions because we've revealed the Harlem Hellfighters.
Yes.
So do you want to talk about that system and perhaps some of the hopes that we're wanting with that system?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am personally really excited for this. I feel like there's a lot of history to be told there. There's a lot of interesting scenarios that happened during the First World War when it comes to specific. We're calling them sub-factions in game, but like it's like specific regiments that were present during the First World War. Sorry. And the first one that we're going to be bringing in is the Harlem Hellfighters, who are, like this division that was under French command, and it's going to be really interesting because it mixes up a little bit of American equipment and a little bit of French equipment, and I'm really excited to see that one in game. There's going to be some elements there that are going to make the subfaction really unique and really like give the players like a completely new feel to both like British and American and French equipment.
Excellent. Yeah, definitely looking forward to seeing the Harlem Hellfighters in game. It's going to be a lot of fun. Do we feel that certain weapons are under or overpowered? For example, shotguns versus pistols in the assault class.
Yeah, we're definitely like getting some feedback from the community when it comes to balancing, and it's always something that we're always tweaking a little bit. But we do like small incremental changes instead of a massive like, oh, now this weapon is 50% less powerful, that kind of stuff, because that's never healthy. But we are always touching up those values and evaluating the usage of each one of those weapons. And then there's a lot of balancing that comes just from how the teams are formed, and like how there's, for instance, you can only have like a certain number of shotguns on one side, or certain types of pistols that are really powerful on one side, or like even for sniper rifles, they're pretty limited for that same reason. So even though there are definitely weapons that are more powerful, and we really want to show that this weapon was incredibly powerful, and even though that's in game, we also don't want to throw the balance too much. We need to keep in mind, we need to remember that this is we're still trying to not make a certain player feel like too overpowered, so we're always balancing those numbers.
Yeah, that's another point towards the training grounds as well, because that's the one thing, is that some of the kits are limited for this reason, is to limit the power of certain weapons and stuff like that. So it's good to get on the training grounds and practice with that weapon for when you get the opportunity to use it in game.
Yeah, definitely jump in there and do that when this update is out.
The other side of it as well is situational as well, because one thing I've noticed already on Cantigny is shotguns really are pretty useless. And so, certain environments and certain maps, then the shotgun is going to run wild. However, there are trade-offs. It's not always going to be the loadout to take. So we do need to consider that as well.
Yeah, that's a very good point. A shotgun is not really too effective at long distances, right? So at that point, a standard bolt-action rifle has the higher ground on that combat.
Right.
And just say about the shotguns, I'm watching playtests right now, and they're really shining in the catacombs right now. There's a lot of fighting going on in the catacombs right now.
That's the perfect scenario for a shotgun.
Right,
pretty intense battles going on.
Just grab the shotty, clear the catacombs, and away you go.
And it's really interesting because if you're in there and there's like this reverb volume, so when you walk inside the catacombs, the sounds are gonna sound like you're inside this enclosed space made of rock stone. So when you shoot a shotgun in there and like you hear that there's someone coming in to have a shotgun, that's kind of scary, right? Mm-hmm. So you have to prepare your tactics and you have to communicate with your team and like get ready because there's someone really overpowered coming our way.
Perfect. So there's like 3 questions here that tie together, and they're about additional sub-factions or factions. So all options are on the table pretty much. We are considering everything, and that goes for the Canadians, the Irish regiments, the Scottish regiments. So everything's being considered. Nothing to confirm, deny, reserve, or otherwise at the minute.
Yeah, a little early for that. Although I'm gonna say we are based in Canada, so
yeah. So the Fire Hazards asked another one here about the Harlem Hellfighters. If the Harlem Hellfighters, act different from normal infantry, will there be something similar for the Central Powers? So I'm not sure what you mean by act differently. They will have their own uniqueness that separates them away from the others. But yes, to your second question, we are looking at the same for Central Powers. Let's see what else we've got. Keep your questions coming. I think we'll do 5 more minutes. So, let's see. If there's no more, we can just wrap it up here. I don't know if there's anything else we wanted to add about the December update. Obviously, keep eyes peeled because it'll be coming before Christmas. So,
yep. Yeah, definitely coming very soon. Really excited for that. We're, as you can see, like even like doing a close play test today, finding those final bugs, finding those final issues there, as you saw with the floating barbed wire. And yeah, getting ready for that release.
Perfect. Well, thanks everyone for your time. We're going to call it there. We'll let everyone get back to work and get ready for this update that's coming this month. So thanks everyone. Take care. Stay safe, and we'll see you very soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.